You were at the other game, Nickey. Dublin eventually beating Carlow 225-21. So they're in that quarter final now proper against Clare. But you weren't exactly blown away by the Dubs in this game, were you?
No, in the first half, their hurling was very poor. They were trying to drive the ball through the lines. It just wasn't working. Their first touch was poor. I mean, you had players dropping the ball and trying 2 or 3 times to rise the ball. And Carlow were up for it. Now, there was obviously a good Carlow crowd there, right crowd in Netwatch Cullen Park. A good atmosphere, absolutely a game that should have been on GA Go. It cried out for that far more than the Tipperary Offaly game. And it was a very competitive first half. And Carlow responded in kind every time, and they led at half time by a point, and deservedly so. But Dublin needed to change their format and drive the ball better down the field. Keane O'Sullivan was threatening at full forward, but he wasn't being given enough of the ball. But the two midfielders for Dublin were very good, it must be said. And in the centre of defence, Owen O'Donnell and Conor Burke were absolutely outstanding. And O'Sullivan then, when he got hold of the ball, he certainly he was a real threat. Now they who got the 2 goals for Dublin were scored by Donald Burke. He actually was heavily bandaged. Now he's the key forward for Dublin. He was bandaged, and while he was taking the frees, he didn't have the same level of mobility. So and now they did take him off before the game was over, but Dublin had it won at that stage. But the margin at the end was very flattering. But the two midfielders for Dublin were absolutely excellent, Grogan and O'Leary. They were really good. I think about 5 or 6 between them. Great mobility, and they were able to work the ball, run from midfield, and take the ball from some of their inside attackers and move into space. So I'm sure that's something Clare will have watched. So look, in the second half, Dublin looked a far better team. Their more direct style suited them, but they'll still have, as I said earlier, I think it's a team that Micheál Donoghue is making good progress with, but he needs a little bit more time, and maybe 1 or 2 of the players who have gone travelling, if they were to come back, I'm thinking particularly of Chris Crummy, I think that would add a little bit more strength to the team. But it's going in the right direction. I don't know who's doing a good job, but sometimes I think their over-elaboration and short play is just not working to their advantage, particularly of their inside forwards.
Chris Crummy, not to mention Keane O'Callaghan. And
yeah, they're just a few. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Liam Rush is planning on coming back to the team whenever he does return. And he's a lot of miles on the clock and injuries and stuff, but what a man when he is fit. And then just in terms of Carlow, Marty Kavanagh scored 12. I think were they all frees? I'm not sure who was man marking.
Yeah, no, he got a point or 2. No, they worked well. I think one of the big probably from a Carlow point of view, one of their star men in that game in the McDonagh final was Broderick, the corner forward. I mean, his ability to catch high balls, and I think Dublin nullified that pretty well. But Carlow, I mean, with certainly on 60 minutes, 62 minutes, there was only a goal or 2 or 3 points in it. There was very little in it at that stage. And the local crowd were really egging Carlow on at that stage. But Dublin, their direct play was the advantage in the end. And when the ball was sent in, nice bit of interplay, which saw Keane O'Callaghan with the ball, and he drove it low into the net. I mean, that effectively wrapped up the game. They ran a couple of points too. Conor Burke landed 2 long-range points. Really impressive striking from the centre half-back, it must be said. And they got a bit out of their bench as well. Darragh Purcell, I thought, made an impression when he came on. I've seen that guy play for Coláiste Doane in colleges hurling for many, many years. And he's a good player and a nice guy to come in off the bench. So the Dublin bench delivered well on Saturday also. But look, Carlow did great. Tom O'Lally alluded to maybe they over-celebrated the McDonagh. No fault for him on that. But look, they're now in the Leinster Championship next year. And I think he'll be keen now to make them give a decent enough impression next year and stay up there and not be back down in McDonagh again.
Yeah, Phil, everyone just expects Clare to beat Dublin this weekend. Nobody's going to say it's going to be easy now or anything like that, but people do expect this to be the end of the line for Dublin. What have you made of them this year, and what do you think their chances are this weekend?
It's kind of a little bit of same old, isn't it? Like the relying, Donald Burke has been so good this year. You're looking for kind of a greater spread of scoring options. I know Danny Sutcliffe's had some really good performances. They don't score enough goals at times. I know they got a couple late, but they were heading for a long part of that Carlow game, isn't it, without finding the net. It's through no fault of their own. I look at the footballers and you see Con up there, and the kind of player that they're just screaming out for as well. So like they're very strong, disciplined, structured, and at times sometimes just maybe a little bit too structured and systematic. But look, they're well capable of raising it. But if you look at maybe Clare's spread of scoring options, just looks that, you know, a good bit superior, the path they've come through. But look, after what happened last year, Kilkenny struck a blow for Leinster hurling, and, you know, absolutely did a job on Clare. And Dublin will be looking, kind of going, well, you know, why can't we do the same? Wexford pushed Clare all the way, so like Dublin have it within themselves, and when they're on it, to really, really push it up. Sure, like they've been very solid. It's just that real spark, a bit of flair, a little bit extra, that X factor you're just kind of looking for all the time, maybe from them.